We'll call the meeting to order at 7:30. Welcome. We'll now call the roll.
Supervisor Gail Chinster Eisenberg.
Here.
Trustee Jessica Tucker.
Here.
Trustee Mark Peterson.
Here.
Trustee Stephen Moser.
Here.
Administrator and Deputy Clerk Larisha Pearson.
Here.
And we have Arnold Mascara with us tonight, our food bank.
Let the record reflect Assessor Jan Churchwell online, as well as James Howard.
We have a meeting, we have a quorum for business.
Yes, wonderful. All right, we're now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Supervisors report, I feel like we all just saw each other. So it's obviously a shorter report. We've had some continuing ed throughout the summer. Township officials of Illinois did a very interesting program on intergovernmental agreements. I'm sure you all were there. But gave me some really good ideas. I have not forgotten on my quest to get us an IGA for a van. So I'm on it, Arnold. This was my attempts to keep finding more ways to do it. We had a lovely mental health walk, still not huge numbers as our second in the series, but we're increasing. And it was another gorgeous run, but it was quite hot. So we kind of left, people kept on peeling off as we went, but health first. We had a great time at the farmer's market, we gave out all of our milkweed packets. You know, kids are really into milkweed. So, and as I mentioned to Melanie, no kid can resist a spinny wheel of trivia and for the potential of prizes. And it really worked. So she was like laughing. She was like, "You're right. They can't go past it without spinning." So good stuff. Township officials. That the biggest announcement is I have been appointed to the Township officials of Cook County Board of Directors. So that's exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I get to hang out with Jerome some more. And of course, the majority of the last 2 weeks has been spent in a marathon of hiring. As you saw in the reports, Melanie has accepted another role, staying in government communications, but closer to her family. And we have been looking. So we did post on LinkedIn. In 2 days, we received 17 quality applicants. Of those, I'd say about 10 were great, fit what I was looking for. And we've invited 7 to interview for screeners with the hope of bringing 2 in for a final interview. So I'm hopeful that by our meeting next month, we will have a new community outreach director. There will be a little lag time. Which, unfortunate because we do have some events coming up. So the more that you can help volunteer for those events, the better, because otherwise I'll be hanging out by myself in the church parking lot for the furniture drive and our next mental health walk coming up. But otherwise, we're all going to kind of have to chip in on those programs and get us ready for the next, for the fall. But there are a lot of programs that are already ready that Melanie has set up for us that the new person can kind of jump into. And it has those on the calendar already. So any questions for supervisors report?
There's a furniture drive.
The 23rd
Oh.
of August, set on a Saturday. Yep. So if you haven't already been collecting, I decided to upgrade my pots and pans for the occasion. Apparently, my 15-year anniversary present to myself. So, yes. All right, we are now in line for approval of minutes. We've been presented with minutes from July 22nd, 2025. Are there any edits? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the July 2025 minutes, please say aye.
We need a motion.
Oh, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, they are approved. Thank you. These were great. And they were in our board packet expeditiously. Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, they look good. And
Yes.
It's great to have them ahead of time
Thank
with the agenda. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Clerk's report, Jerome.
I have just two things to mention, so about that point, it's my time now that, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I'm learning this civic clerk's, so civic clerk has all these other benefits, but one of them is they offer a minutes tool. So everybody says, go ahead, you cannot, it's a craft, you wanna record the history of the township as it's happening. And if you look at our minutes versus some others, I'm not bragging, I'm just saying they're better, and they reflect sometimes interesting discussions, and you can't have a transcript, et cetera. But this new program will really help me, especially things like you pull over the names of the trustee who made the motion, and it's like, it's very nice. So look forward to that next month. And Larry can make sure that I have that ready to go and post it. So I'm learning all this. The second thing is, in advance of your consideration of the proposal for high school students, this evening, I would like to offer any help to the committee or whatever the board decides to do, because that's my area of professional experience, and I'd be love to interview them or talk to them or screen applications, whatever you'd like to help. I would really like to be involved in, if you choose. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
All right, financial report, James, I'll make you the host.
All right, thanks. So we did have a little bit of headline news today. CPI came out at 2.7%. So again, that's for the July read, back 12 months. So that's pretty much going to mean probably a September Fed rate cut. But again, we've been continually positioning ourselves in the best way to earn yield in terms of our portfolios. And now we have Illinois funds as well added to the mix. So again, we might see a 25 point or basis rate cut, but we are still well positioned to earn some pretty good bang for the buck as we move forward. 5 months in, ended July 31. Again, that takes the 42% of the way through. No taxes. We do not expect taxes to be on time. Of course, they would be coming in this month. So I'm not exactly sure when. I'm hoping November, December-ish. As we know they're going to be late. The extensions are not out yet, or I haven't seen them as of today. So we're kind of waiting news from the county on that second installment. Replacement taxes in at 33%, about 19,000 received there. Interest, that's going to be a beat for the year. We're already at 97%, 5 months in it, about 49,000 collected. And then passport fees look good here, 15,000 collected at about 51%. So just north of 2 million in total revenues. We budgeted for about 3.9 million, so we're at 53%. And again, with half of the tax money in, that's the other half that we're expecting, hopefully November, December.
And James, quick question on replacement tax.
Yeah.
We had made our budget much lower than in past based on what we had heard about what they were doing with that. Do we think we were still overestimating that, like now that we're at 33% with 42% of the year, or no?
This comes in 8 installments. So I think we've got, 4 or 5 more to come. So I'm not too concerned yet. I can go in and kind of see that we don't align in terms of our fiscal year versus the states. But as we see now what they're estimating into their next fiscal year, we can kind of dial into, are we going to see that money? I think we're going to be relatively close, but again, we may need a downward, revision to next fiscal year again. So the state has recouped that money, and there's really nothing we can do on that front.
Right.
In terms of expenditures, we're still looking very good. Again, timing is going to take some of these up in terms of when the payouts go, out the door. But again, you can see our agency programs in at 34%. You're going to see childcare, transportation services a little bit elevated. We did have childcare services payouts at 40. Right now we're at 43%. We'll go into that in a little bit of detail coming up. Contractual services at 50, office supplies 53. Some other expenditures, again, that's a low dollar amount at 58, and then some of those building expenses in at 75. Everything else, though, at or below where we are in the year. You can see all in about 1.4 million spent. Our budget's just north of 4 million, so we're at 34%, and at 33% for the town fund, 38% for GA. So both of those looking good in terms of where we are in the year. 681,000 is the surplus to date. We started with about 2.26 million. We're at about 2.94 million in ending fund balance, which is very close to our cash position overall. Again, just in terms of cash, we are going to be able to bridge the gap even though the county will most likely be pretty late with taxes. Distribution wise, property taxes 96%, replacement 1, interest 2, passports 0.8. And on the expenditure side, agency programs at 43% of the overall pie, child care 5, projects 2, professional services 7, the assessor 2, building town hall expenses at about 10, financial assistance 9, the pantry 4, personnel 14, elected officials 1. So still revenues over expenditures through July. And then as we come down into some of our other categories, we talked about the 2 payments that we had. In terms of Glencoe, that's why that was elevated above that 33% at the last meeting. And then again, we did have our summer camp scholarships go out. So that's why you saw we were at 43%. That was about 73,000 under budget by about $2,100.
And
A
the
lot of these are
form
also
will
timing.
due, on the 15th, so if you do know of anyone who needs that, that'll be our next tranche.
Yep, and then back to school supplies again, another payout there. That's already at 92%. Is school's right around the corner. At least I know for my kids, it's next week. 37% here. Again, contractual services. We also talked about the payouts in full for website maintenance and civic clerk. Again, these are just paid up early in the fiscal year, so basically skews the percentage upward, but still on track with the overall budget across those categories. Again, all of our payroll looks very good. In terms of the payroll related accounts, at or below that 42%. Of course, we were under all in, producing that surplus to date. Look at the bank balances. Again, you can see we're
Question, Trustee Moser?
James,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
transportation services is up.
Yes.
Any particular reason?
Dial Ride is probably just up, but there are really no new clients that are really using Dial Ride. People just probably are using it right now because it's the summertime, but it will probably drop off in the winter time. We are referring a lot of people to Escoda Transportation just because their needs are not being met with Dial Ride. A lot of them need medical, and we are funding Escoda Transportation with North Shore Senior Center. So a lot of these people are people who've had those Dial Ride coupons since like 2013. So it just really varies, honestly.
The lift under that line or no?
No, that's our Angel.
Okay.
So some of our clients do use a lift in like special circumstances for us to get them from here. The origin point has to be from here to go certain places. We have a business account for that through the Angel Fund.
Okay. Thank you.
In terms of cash balances, you can see about 2.9 million, mirroring that fund balance. Again, Illinois funds now is here at about 251,000. That's still north of 4%, I believe. And then again, some of our BMO accounts a little bit high here just because we did receive taxes, keeping some of it here, obviously, for operational needs. As we know now, we're going to go a little bit later till we see that second installment. We want to have that money available. About $1 million in our Schwab account, and for the town fund, and about 813,000 in the GA Schwab account as well. Outside of that, I think that leads me into the approval of the bills. So I'm going to open it up to any questions from the board.
Yeah,
Please.
yes, all right, thank you. Do we track what percentage of the revenue we receive goes back into the community versus what's overhead or administrative costs? Because it was interesting when I was gathering, signatures for the petitions again, the ballot, a lot of people asked me and said, well, how much of our tax dollar is actually going back for all the different systems, whether it's housing or transportation or food pantry, and how much isn't? And do we track that like year over year to see how we're trending? Are we putting more back? Are we putting less some years because of different things we might have to do, like facilities, updates or whatever. So I don't know, you can look at the pie chart and kind of get an idea on the expenditure and fund distribution, but it might be nice to have something that shows a little more detail on how we're doing on what percentage of the revenue is going back to directly assist our residents.
What I found was, because we had a similar, had similar discussions the first time I ran.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions on it, so that's probably why.
It's a little hard to parse out some things that are considered overhead versus services, because if you think, you know, a lot of our personnel costs are services, you know, it's social worker, it's doing the, you know, the placards, it's the, you know, it's not like we're just have somebody, you know, typing.
Right.
Everything has a purpose. But we can try to figure out what would be considered overhead by, you know, some standard, right? But we'd have to kind of look at what standard, because I know a lot of people were looking at it from, you know, applying standards from nonprofits, which aren't particularly analogous. So we have to figure out what that proper distribution is. James, have you seen something similar at other governments?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, you guys are really giving back in the sense, I mean, just looking at this pie chart here, you're probably already at 70% of program related or service related expenditures. And like you said, that's not maybe even inclusive of personnel costs, which a lot of that's attributed to each given service area. So yeah, I mean, it's really a lot of every dollar that comes in goes right back out into the community, that's for sure.
To follow up on that, it's a good point. I like that. Like to see what that is too. How much of that stays within the township and how much of it goes outside the township also?
It would be lovely to put in our annual report this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good talking point, because it looks
Mhm.
like we're in that 70 to 80 percentile, which is super good for nonprofits and, you know,
Yeah.
agencies such as ours. And if that'd be a helpful, I would think it'd be a very helpful talking point.
Absolutely, that's a great idea.
And something to, you know, boast a little
Yeah,
bit
great.
about
Yeah.
on the great job that is being done, because people do wonder about it. So, yeah.
I like that. And you know, I'm in my head, I'm seeing $1 and the dollar is being.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
split up
Yeah.
or however you want to do it. Right, yeah.
Do we receive our allocation from the state for the basement for the,
So we are waiting for it to come through. So you'll
Okay.
see we're with 70% on building expenses. We
Yeah.
still have to get that reimbursement.
Okay,
Of
gotcha.
100,000. So, thankfully we are in a position where we could float it, which is,
Yeah.
I'm very glad that we are. See no additional discussion. Trustee Moser.
I would, kind of got page to get the other. I got it,
You got it?
I just got it.
Pass this on.
Well, that's fine. I move to approve the expenses from July 1st, 2025, July 31st, 2025, as reflected in the financial report given this day, the 12th day of August, 2025.
A second.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk?
Supervisor Eisenberg.
Yes.
Trustee Tucker.
Yes.
Trustee Peterson.
Yes.
Trustee Moser.
Yes.
Wonderful. Assessors report, Assessor Churchwell.
Excuse me, yes, I sent it out a little bit earlier along with statistics for the first 2 quarters. And the only, it's not really an expansion, it's merely an agreement. We're with James Howard in terms of wondering when those tax bills are going to come out. We understand that the hangup is that the treasurer's software or programs and the assessor software have not yet meshed to the extent that the data can be sent over to the treasurer for generation of the bills. And we know it's serious enough. We had a lunch on, the last Friday in July. I don't know what the date was, the 25th, maybe something like that. And one man in the treasurer's office who he's normally the person who comes to our lunches if anyone from the treasurer's office attends. He, however, happens to have gotten the very dubious job of being the liaison with the assessor's office for the transition, not as a technician, but as, you know, as the point person for the treasurer. And he was not allowed to come to our lunch because he was too busy and was not allowed to leave the office. Which tells you what state they're in over there at the moment in trying, you know, to get this all worked out. And the only other thing is it's slightly anecdotal. Those of you who are Chase customers are already aware of this, but last week Chase apparently sent out a notice to all of its customers in Cook County saying that their tax bills were going to be paid as of October 13th or possibly the 15th, but somewhere around there. And I got an email from a lady telling me that. And I wrote her back right away and said, please contact your bank. She didn't tell me which one it was at that time, because I'm very concerned that since we don't know when the bills are going to be generated, I don't think they should try to take money out of your account until they know how much it's supposed to be. And as of this point, they don't know. And well, later Friday night, that she emailed me again over the weekend. Friday night, Chase sent out a notice, a retraction saying, oops, sorry, we don't know how that happened. We didn't do it. And in the meantime, I had asked several other assessors if they'd heard anything about this. And one of them wrote back and said, they don't know nothing any more than anybody else. Nope, we didn't do it. So, and aside from that, we also don't know when we're opening at the Board of Review yet, but expecting it will be soon. And there is an event at the Wilmette Rec Center, at the Board of Review's annual outreach event. Excuse me, next Thursday night, August 21st. Their format's a little bit different this year. They're starting earlier. They're starting at 5:30 rather than after dinner or at dinner time, in order to accommodate people on both sides. They expect to be done by 7:30. And the presentation of the process and all will take place in the middle of that at 6 o'clock, which is kind of interesting. And our only concern is, of course, that since they aren't, we don't know yet if we're going to be open. And if we are, all publicity, I've been told, will be rapidly adjusted to say that instead of being a pre-filing event, this is now a filing event. So we're all, I'm feeling a little bit like, like Ronnie Howard in The Music Man, maybe with the Wells Fargo wagon. Maybe the next special delivery will be something just for me. So we're all waiting on dates from various places, and in the meantime, fielding inquiries from residents. At least the fact that our data was released, that is when the assessor released his decisions, all the data was able to be updated. So we are able to prepare people for appeals, even though they can't file them yet because the Board of Review can't accept the data yet. So we are either sending them to them and saying, wait, or if they want us to file, then we're just holding them and saying, yes, we'll do it. We will file for you when we open, but no, we don't know when that is yet. So that's basically it.
Yeah, I have a question for you. Regarding building permits, as far as commercial versus residential, the first 2 quarters of this year, are you tracking those, or roughly just interested in how many permits have been pulled?
No, it is what we track is the number of, is strictly.
Give her a second to do that. While we wait for Assessor Churchwell to come back on, everyone can go ahead and email Len to get on his list.
I already made a note.
Made a note. All right, we'll give her a moment. I'll give her a moment. In the meantime, we're in line for public comment. Is there any public comment?
Yes.
All right. You.
Hello, my name is Arnold Skidda, the food pantry manager, as you guys may know. Jan's back. Do I wait for Jan or?
Jan, did you have more for us? Otherwise, we'll go to public comment.
All I was going to do was say to Mark that what we do is track just the number of permits that as we have filed them to the county, because that's the office activity. And it covers everything, from fences to new houses, demolitions, whatever. We do not do any separation of categories.
Interesting. Okay.
Sorry.
No, thank you.
Anything else, Jan?
Nope, that's fine. That's it.
Wonderful. All right, we're back to public comments. All right.
Beautiful. Okay, so I am here for 2 questions. Basically, that's all I came to ask. My first question, which I asked maybe a week and a half ago, was are we going to continue to use net income to decide eligibility for our programs, or are we going to move on to gross?
So that is not a question that this board has before them right now,
Okay,
right? So, but I think that the proper policy is gonna be is that you and I will come up with a decision, and then
okay,
we'll present it to the board.
okay. And then, my
How do we currently, determine eligibility?
we currently determine eligibility using net income.
Net we use. Okay.
So the minimum net income required to use the food pantry currently is, I believe, $39,125 per year. The reason why I want to know if we're gonna continue to use net versus gross is because net, I make $39,120. So I'm currently below our own income eligibility guidelines. Which is the reason why I came today to just find out what we're gonna do moving forward. Once again, I asked some time ago, but yeah, just basically want clarity on
Right.
what that's gonna look like going forward.
I think the intent when we went to 250% of the federal poverty rate was to go to gross.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to keep everything consistent. And it was not properly codified. So that'll be presented at the next meeting.
Yes, just because we have a lot of clients that are at way like above these levels, if we're gonna go like to gross, a lot of people fall, later in. And then my second question is, why was my expense check cut?
Oh, apparently someone had told you that you could have expenses for travel to work. That is
Oh.
not a thing,
So
so.
Brian, when he left me like the position, he said that since he's been here, he's been expensing his expenses for transportation on Saturday coming to work. And I continue doing the same for the past couple of months. All of my checks have been approved. And it was only this one that got cut in half.
This
So,
one was, I
that's why-
noted a very large differential on one of the lines, and that's, I had brought it up to Larisha. I don't know what Brian was doing before, he actually very rarely put in expenses.
Is that for mileage reimbursement?
For mileage
Because I'm
reimbursement,
not sure the IRS allows you to seek reimbursement if it's to and from your place of business.
you do or don't,
They don't allow
Right,
that.
exactly.
It's not allowed, so,
exactly,
Yeah,
so that's why I don't
yeah.
do that. So, it's, obviously Brian is not a lawyer,
Mhm.
and I can't, say what he did under Diane, but,
No,
Yeah.
the reason
That
I
was
was
the reason.
asking was because we've been doing the same for me.
yes,
Like,
I
I've
clearly
been-
didn't notice.
Okay.
That, it was that very large difference one that I noticed, so,
Yeah, that's the only two things that I really wanted to know.
yep.
Thanks so much.
Any questions for Arnold?
A quick question in general about, do other food pantries, is it standardized as far as the income levels for purposes of
No.
assistance, or do we kind of look at what's going on in our township and?
Right, as
Okay.
far as I know, there's no standard, and maybe Arnold, have you seen anything from Greater Chicago? Because we haven't
Yeah.
been part of the Greater Chicago Food Depository before this year.
I looked
So-
at them and then I looked at, Dallas Township, Northwood Township, Willing Township, Bolingbrook, basically all the townships around us. Everybody uses gross, and I mean, literally everybody. We're the only ones who use net.
Yeah, so there,
For our GA, EA, and food pantry.
Yeah.
So all of our programs are run off of net income, which, once again, we are the only township in like a 20-30 mile radius that uses net.
right, so until
yeah.
was it 1 year or 2 years ago, during COVID, we actually gotten rid of the income thresholds altogether. And we brought it back, was it last year or 2 years ago? Can't
I
remember.
wanna say it was almost 2 years ago.
Right,
And I think the reason why this comes into play is because we've had multiple meetings with Gene because Gene feels strongly that it should be net. some of our pantry clients make more money than me. So, you know, it's waging need, right? Like, you know, some of our pantry clients have been here for a very long time, but, you know, I called Jean out on a couple of them because I'm like, they don't meet the income guidelines if we're doing gross. And then Jean said, well, we do net. So that's where this conversation came about. But the other surrounding townships, I checked, all do gross, but they just do various levels of the federal poverty guideline.
That's
Like
what I meant.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
we're one of the higher,
we're one of the higher ones, but they all still do gross.
right?
How did we come
Yeah.
up with the 250% of the,
It was
federal
based on
prop-
some of our other agency partners were using 250.
okay.
So to be consistent with, I think it was North Suburban Legal Aid at the time was the one. So,
If we
and
could-
now that we have obviously increased usage and increased costs, we
Yeah.
do have to be ready and put these into place. As you saw in Arnold's great report, you know, we are proud to have a very nutritiously balanced program, but it means that we need to be more cautious with our participation. And we've been doing the recertification of people's eligibility, and that's where lapse is coming up, right? So,
Yeah, I'd really like to see your recommendations and
Mhm.
review all this and see what you propose going forward, because it doesn't make sense if
exactly,
they're making more than some of our staff. And yet they're coming in for free, you know,
Yeah.
for food, then, you know,
The intent was
there's a
certainly
disconnect
to
there.
be-
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's-
It's only paying attention to usage, right, which is something that we do very closely now that
Yeah.
we're checking bags. Some people are just coming in, maybe getting a couple of cans of dog food.
Mm.
Or, you know, some people come in and only want like a couple of rolls of paper towel, you know, like
Yeah.
it's figuring out the need. And then once we go over to household based shopping, then it's gonna be, hey, if you're only one person, then you can only get these very specific things. And the food pantry is such a big undertaking. It's always changing. Our clientele are always changing. But you know, it's something that Arnold and I talk about often, and we talk about it in tandem with Jean. It's just really making sure that the people who really need the pantry are
Right.
getting the service.
I
It's-
wonder if that's why other townships do use the gross, because it weeds out the
Yeah,
work and, you know, basically
Right.
depreciate and net out and,
right,
yeah.
So
write
that-
off certain expenses to
Yeah.
get to that level where others can't. And I wonder if that's something, like you said, we could take a look at that.
Yeah, I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
And then I think it's worth mentioning that North Suburban Legal Aid Clinic also uses gross.
Right,
So if
right.
all
That was-
they do.
and that
Yeah,
was the point.
yeah.
Because I believe I made that motion, you know, whatever years ago, and it was
Yeah.
meant to be off of gross.
So-
So,
Yeah.
so it's not, you know, I think it was just codified and
Makes sense.
properly.
Yeah, go to growth.
Okay, so with that, we have additional acknowledgement of staff reports. Is there anything anyone wants to grab from any of these staff reports for discussion?
See, I have a couple things.
Yep.
The website redesign.
Yep.
How is that coming along? I know you got
I don't know by myself, but I did it a couple of years ago when we did the redesign. And actually, I'm not unhappy with how our website currently looks because we worked a really long time.
And some others.
The action buttons and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You know, they will go over with me like what's ADA compliant. I know that our website has like the proper font. We were very careful about the colors and stuff like that. The
Yeah.
action buttons were really important, especially for our elderly clients and stuff like that. So I did one meeting on Friday, so there really shouldn't be too much to do. But if anybody has any input, just let me know. It does take a little while. It can be up to a 6-month project just because of like their project managers have all of these things that they're managing. So if I wasn't happy with what we had, I would try to like fast track it,
Yeah.
but you know, it'll give us a little bit of time for input.
Yeah, yeah.
And as much as you can put off till we have a new director of communications,
Yeah.
feel free to do so.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's not a rush. Right,
Yeah.
right,
It isn't, yeah, I think
Yeah.
I don't wanna
refresher is
overlook
nice,
it.
but
Yeah.
it doesn't, yeah, I think we have so much information on there, it's amazing, and I think it's quite user friendly, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It took us a long time to do the last.
Yeah, no, that's good to know, because
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were gonna like redo the whole thing, or you just kind of maybe wanna update, maybe make it a little more, I don't
Yeah,
know, whatever.
We can change it, it's
Contemporary.
on a mood board, you know, they can change that. I did certainly tell them that we were hiring a new communications director, so
Yeah.
that
so-
person can be added on. So they sent me a timeline. They're pretty open to like what I wanna do, so if anybody wants, you know, to add anything to the website, it's always very easy to add a page, and if you want a page added, you know, if we can't do all of the development stuff, we do have a webmaster that helps us do that
Oh,
too.
that's great, that's great. Okay, if I still have the floor, thank you. I had a question on the strategic plan. I
Yep.
love the note about, the July 23rd meeting. And I just wondered when the report might come out, and, you did that great, what was it, decennial kind of review and all that effort in the report and some recommendations. I wondered, does that kind of get folded in with strategic planning, or is that more like administrative suggestions for efficiency? And then strategic planning is more like policy, big picture look. I didn't
Yeah.
know if those were gonna come together in any way, like if there are any suggestions from that decennial review, because it was quite the effort and quite the report. I was
Yeah.
really impressed. If that would
Yeah.
be helpful for strategic planning, if they're gonna look
Yeah.
at that.
So some of the recommendations from decennial are a part of the strategic plan, but the strategic plan is, what did we decide, 5 years? There was 3. Oh, so you did 4 years because of the next. 4
Yeah,
or
because
something?
to stay
like a
within
term.
Gail's
Yeah.
tenure.
Right,
Yeah,
so it's a shorter period than obviously a 10-year look back.
yeah.
And it's meant to be, SWOT analysis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not a consultant.
No, that's fine.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
but yes, a lot of them will piggyback off of one another. I
Okay.
do feel,
I'm not sure when the report is coming out, but I did send her some images of like around the
Yeah, I
township, like
saw
the
that.
different villages and stuff like that. But a lot of what she was concentrating on was adding more services, like if we can. I'm trying to actually add doing license plate stickers.
right, so we are actually putting in some of them to
Yeah.
place now without the.
Yeah, to bring in
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
income, because a lot of what our income is property taxes. We do obviously bring in passport income, but, she was saying that we put out a lot, so, we're trying to bring some back in. But I hope that within the next couple of weeks, I hope that by the next meeting, she'll have something. And, I did tell her that if the board wants her to come, then I'll let her know, like, via Zoom or something to talk about it.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you so much.
Mhm.
That's great. I'm looking forward to the report. It'll be great.
Question for the transition for, is it Melanie Bourbon?
Mhm.
I know her last day is the 15th. Who's gonna pick up like her role in the interim, pick up before we hire somebody full
So I
time?
think we only have one event this month still, that being the furniture drive. So I intend to do that.
You're gonna pick up. You're gonna step up, all right,
Yeah,
as you always.
as far as her email goes, I'm assuming we're sending them to you
For now,
for
yeah.
now. And then we do have an event early September with the MWRD, but MWRD has been doing a lot of the heavy lifting on that, so I'm hopeful they can do so. We are partnering with the Park District of the Village on that. Wilmette Park District and Village, because it's talking about the canal shores and sustainable zoning, and so we're meeting at the Gilson Park Lakefront Center, right by WRD's property. So
Sounds good. You
come
hope
to
to-
that.
Hopefully I'll have somebody on board next 60 days or so, hopefully.
I'm hopeful,
Get some good candidates, it sounds like.
assuming everyone, we do intend to have those first interviews tomorrow. So I'm hopeful that then the following week can bring someone in, if not even this week. But we are moving it on an expedited schedule, so
Thank you.
won't bring us back up to full capacity.
Question on passports. What are our fees for passports?
It just depends. So we make $35 on the actual passport application itself. We make $15 on the photos. And then it's just a wash for the mailing fees if somebody is doing expedited, because that goes up.
Sure.
all the time. So, we don't make any money on the regular routine ones. So basically, if someone does an application and a photo, we make $50.
Oh.
If someone just does the application, we make 35. That's across all acceptance facilities.
When's the last time we adjusted the pricing? Has it been the
We
same?
haven't, I don't think that we cannot adjust the passport application price itself, because that's what the US Department of State has us charged. That's all of the facilities. We can charge more for photos if we want, that's flexible, but the fee itself, we cannot change.
And it seems like it's increased as far as the people participating or coming in for passport renewals or
Yeah.
renewals. And then the notary services, those are free to the public that come in, just need a notary signature.
Yeah, that's been pretty popular,
Okay.
the notary services. Steve sees actually a lot of notary people per week. So that's been a great addition, but we don't charge for that. So,
There's a lot of side hustles now in the notary business.
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
literally set up businesses.
yeah.
And, they come in to notarize. I was involved in one recently,
Mhm.
and a third party came in, notarized everything. I think she got $150 to $200 for coming in and notarizing.
Mm.
So it could be a profit center.
Yeah.
A revenue source, but.
Yeah, I mean, I know Wilmette Library offers it for free. I know Niles Township offers it for free. I think it's a nice value add.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too, but I
Yeah.
know there are.
Yeah.
businesses.
Oh, there certainly are, yes.
Yeah,
The same way we offer shredding for free, at our event, and you can also go to UPS store, right?
Sounds good, thank you.
Any other things, from the staff reports for
I have
discussion?
another question.
Yes,
Are the updated oversight committee bylaws, is that part of Steve's presentation?
so
Are we gonna accept it on its face, or is that,
Steve, I believe he said in his report, he's presenting them to the committees themselves first,
okay?
and then they'll come back to us.
All right,
Yeah.
I was wondering, cause I was looking at it. Maybe we should look at them first, maybe we should get them afterwards, I don't know. My thought on it, so that's why I asked. And then my other reason for asking is, there's no reference to any of the youth stuff in there.
We don't have our recommendation yet.
So would that be a perfect opportunity to incorporate that?
So we'll go really quickly, any new business? Seeing none, old continuing business, youth advisory committees.
This is really kind of report and some questions for you guys in general. Jessica was great in sending me the Winnetka information. The Winnetka is incorporated into, it's part of the village code as to how and when they involve youth. So my first question out of the box, and the reason I brought up the bylaw question is, do we want to formalize this in a written form? And if so, what do we use for that? I looked up the statutes. There's statutes to create youth committees, but there's no statutes about using youth within the committee. There is one sentence in one of the paragraphs that says that the youth committees can work with other governmental agencies, et cetera, so as to benefit the youth. So you could make an argument that we're kind of doing that backwards, but the other possibility would be to create a youth committee and then spin it off and do it the way the statute's set up. So that was one of my questions.
So that they'd be like liaisons to the three.
Yeah,
I like that.
that's
Okay.
kind of, so that
That
was,
does fit well with the statute.
you know, we'll have a primary committee, a youth committee, and then we go down from there. So that was one of my questions. I also liked Winnetka's criteria. They had junior and senior high school kids, but they also include college kids if they are either residents and live in the township or go to college in the township. And I was wondering, is there one in the township? I don't.
So we overlap with Oakton
So there's.
coverage, but Oakton's not in the township.
Okay.
But New Trier is in Oakton's.
Yeah,
Sure.
but I like the idea of expanding it from just high school to possibly also including college. They had a process for appointing their village president, made the appointment. You could certainly make the appointment based on the information given to you by the trustees. And then the only reference to the committees before I saw these bylaws was in the advisory committee, there's a blip on the web. And there's also, we could modify that, so that would be another place we could do it as well. And that in the youth. And then my last question was, I'm a little perplexed as to whether we should do this for one for each committee, if we're doing a pilot. And at the end of the last discussion, the idea was to do a pilot program. So the question I have in my own mind is, should we just put somebody on Life Stages, which is the committee that does work with the youth programs, and try it? Or do we want to go with all three from the get-go? And as I said, I reference back to Winnetka, their statute or their book says that it can be one or more. So on the environmental, they have two,
Two, right?
but on the other one, they only have one. So I was just kind of in my own mind, and that's why I asked for the input tonight, to kind of get a sense from you guys. Do we want to just try one-on-one committee to start? Do we want to try this idea of forming a youth committee and then having that be the three splinter groups? And that's where I'm at.
I favor the youth committee and having each member of the youth committee be assigned to a committee of their choice or their
Yeah, I
interest.
like that idea.
Because we could also then have youth committee meetings and, have discussions about with the food pantry, like we could do it kind of like we could also bring in like information, right? Have presentations, things like that. But anybody has a different opinion.
Will there be a term, for
But,
that?
oh, that was the other thing. They do it for 1 year term. 1 year term. I think we should do it for 1 year term.
I agree.
Their committees are 3-year, as ours are as well, but on the youth side, they just do it for
Yeah.
1 year.
So maybe
Yeah, that
that's
begs
it,
the
it's
question in
youth
terms of,
committees.
you're thinking one on each committee right away as opposed to just trying out the youth committee. All right, let me play with it. I'm not sure I'll have it finalized by the next meeting, but you gave me a lot of information I can take back and try and come up with some kind of written document on it.
Has there been a lot of interest, or was there a lot of demand in Winnetka? The youth?
Yeah, apparently, I talked to a couple of trustees on the council and say, how do you get the youth? And they said they just find us. They send out like to the advisories on a lot of the schools, like we're looking for students to serve and what the process is as far as applying and or interviewing. But there's no lack of students that would love that opportunity to serve. And I was gonna mention, we already as a township are a great provider of involving youth just by peer jury. And one of the things I'm going to do, and as I'm talking to review the peer jury, program, when I'm talking to everyone, is I want to get from Brian, hopefully statistics on how many jurors have come through this program since 1997. The students involved in this township is just remarkable.
He actually has it. I'm seeing
Does
the
he have
number.
that? I've got a bunch of statistics I'd love to have looking back and then looking forward for
It's
the
a very
report.
old software program.
But we
He has
already
it.
involve youth, which is tremendous. But the other thing too, trustee Moser, is what, did you think about what Stefan? Okay, I don't know if we should, I'm new, so do we just say first names, or I was stumbling over Gail's, our trustee, our supervisor, Eisenberg, see?
They do work too.
So I don't know, but whatever is the protocol, please let me know, so I am appropriate for the board meetings. But did you think about whether or not they should have a vote? Because this is their youth, minors
Yeah.
typically, unless they're undergraduates at college that reside in the community. Which means they could be at college somewhere else, but they have to reside here as a qualification, I think is how that is interpreted for Winnetka, but they don't allow them to vote. They participate, they can certainly comment, but it's the adult members, that's something.
Yeah, I may have jumped, I assumed that, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I just assumed it outright, but I didn't articulate it, but
Yeah.
that was my feeling.
I think I tend to agree with that as well, especially if we're gonna do this format where it's a youth committee that is then liaisoned.
Yeah,
Because then we don't have to worry about changing the bylaws of the particular committees, right?
right, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think it's great, like what Stephen did as far as lining up those bylaws. It's easy to insert,
Oh,
the
yeah.
student representative. Has to be a resident of
Yep.
Newton Township, does not vote, has a 1 year term, you could just bullet point that. similar to how he's done it already for other members, how they're qualified and what the process is and for the committee itself, the youth committee, which sounds great. If that's what you wanted to.
Anything else on that, on the youth participation? Seeing none, we are now in line for a motion to adjourn. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Oh, you fought for it. We'll see what happens in a minute. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? We will see you at our next meeting.
Here's the